Okay, so I'm going to drop this for you on Classroom. Okay, so the first thing I want you to open up is the document Aristotle, Billy Collins, and it's going to be under your work over at the right. My view is different. Okay, when I click view, this is where I would like grade you and all that. Your view, when you click on it, will have it over here to the right. So go ahead and open up the document Aristotle by Billy Collins. I'm going to make a copy so that I can edit this without changing my other classes. So this would be 0A, annotations. Okay. Duplicate this. Okay. So, remember what I told you about poetry last week when we did that poem on hope on the first day? I said that you cannot ingest a poem, you can't take it all in one big bite, right? You don't eat a hamburger in one giant bite. You have to take it in piece by piece. So and I'm modeling this for you, I'm modeling how I think you should approach poetry as I start giving you some unassisted poems where you have to read and annotate them yourselves, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is just read it. All right, it's 3 stanzas. It's a little long, but we're going to just read it before we really start digging into it. So I'm going to read it with you. I'm going to read it aloud with you. Now, I will not do this every time. Okay, we're just starting out, so I'm modeling for you how I expect you to do this. Okay, so follow with me. Aristotle, Billy Collins. This is the beginning. Almost anything can happen. This is where you find the creation of light, a fish wriggling onto land, the first word of paradise lost on an empty page. Think of an egg, the letter A, a woman ironing on a bare stage as the heavy curtain rises. This is the very beginning. The first person narrator introduces himself, tells us about his lineage. The mezzo-soprano stands in the wings. Here the climbers are studying a map or pulling on their long woolen socks. This is early on, years before the ark, dawn. The profile of an animal is being smeared on the wall of a cave, and you have not yet learned to crawl. This is the opening, the gambit, a pawn moving forward an inch. This is your first night with her, your first night without her. This is the first part where the wheels begin to turn, where the elevator begins its ascent, before the doors lurch apart. Next stanza. This is the middle. Things have had time to get complicated, messy, really. Nothing is simple anymore. Cities have sprouted up along the rivers, teeming with people at cross purposes, a million schemes, a million wild looks. Disappointment unshoulders his knapsack here and pitches his ragged tent. This is the sticky part where the plot congeals, where the action suddenly reverses or swerves off in an outrageous direction. Here the narrator devotes a long paragraph to why Miriam does not want Edward's child. Someone hides a letter under a pillow. Here the aria rises to a pitch, a song of betrayal, salted with revenge, and the climbing party is stuck on a ledge halfway up the mountain. This is the bridge, the painful modulation. This is the thick of things. So much is crowded into the middle. The guitars of Spain, piles of ripe avocados, Russian uniforms, noisy parties, lakeside kisses, arguments heard through a wall, too much to name, too much to think about. Final stanza. And this is the end, the car running out of road, the river losing its name in an ocean, the long nose of the photographed horse touching the white electronic line. This is the colophon, the last elephant in the parade, the empty wheelchair, and pigeons floating down in the evening. Here the stage is littered with bodies. The narrator leads the characters to their cells, and the climbers are in their graves. It is me hitting the period and you closing the book. It is Sylvia Plath in the kitchen and St. Clement with an anchor around his neck. This is the final bit, thinning away to nothing. This is the end, according to Aristotle, what we have all been waiting for, what everything comes down to, the destination we cannot help imagining, a streak of light in the sky, a hat on a peg, and outside the cabin, falling leaves. Okay, So we've had our first exposure to it. Now remember, with poetry, you don't fully understand it the first run through. So now we need to start breaking it down. So I'm going to model annotations here. Okay. Now, I prefer to do annotations on paper. Like typically, pre-COVID-19, I would have a physical copy in front of you and you would have a pen or a pencil and you'd be marking it. Okay. But because of our situation, you've got to get familiar with how to annotate in Google Docs. Most of you know how to do this, but I'm just going to show you, okay, what I would be looking for when I start grading and looking for your annotations. So can everybody see this? Okay. On yours, you can follow along with me, and then I'll start to release you to start annotating a little bit on your own. Okay, and I'll start asking you some guiding questions. So if we look at these first lines, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. This is just a very basic inference I'm recording here in a comment. So you see how I did that? I highlighted it, and this little box popped up over here. Now, sometimes your box won't pop up. If it doesn't, you can add a comment right here, okay, or Control-Alt-M. But for most of you, this little box will pop up. All right, and I'm going to scroll it over. And I'm just going to make just an inference, just an observation that I saw. That's all I'm doing when I'm annotating is I'm recording my observations, literal and figurative, okay? This is a literal observation here. So Collins begins each stanza with a phase of a story. And I'm going to put a question mark or a phase of life. Why am I putting a question mark there? I'm unsure yet, right? I'm just annotating. I'm just writing my thoughts down. Okay. He starts beginning, middle, and end. The parameters of any good story, or really of anyone's life, right? We all have a beginning, middle, and end. So I'm modeling literal annotations for you. We'll get into the deep stuff in a second. Almost anything can happen. This is where you find the creation of light. What's this reference to? Yeah, creation. Okay, maybe this could be biblical potentially. A fish wriggling onto land. That's evolution, right? The first word of Paradise Lost on an empty page. Bonus points. Anybody know who wrote Paradise Lost? Milton. I'm so not prepared to have such smart students. The creation of light, a fish wriggling onto land. The first word of Paradise Lost on an empty page. Think of an egg. Why is he telling you to think of an egg? Chickens. What came first? The chicken or the egg? The letter A. Where's the letter A in an alphabet? A woman ironing on a bare stage. What is this image?
Like starting and playing.
Yeah. As the heavy curtain rises, there's your confirmation of that. This is the very beginning. So all of this right here, okay, these are all beginnings of some kind. Just literal annotations right now. The first person narrator introduces himself, tells us about his lineage, where he comes from. The mezzo-soprano stands in the wings. In the wings of what? The stage, yeah. So any theater or music people you would know, the wings are the side of the stage. They're waiting before they do what? Yeah, before they perform, before they go on stage. Here the climbers are studying a map or pulling on their long woolen socks. This is early on, years before the ark. You got another biblical reference there. Dawn, the profile of an animal is being smeared on the wall of a cave. So I'm having another inference here. Okay, So Collins is leading us through various images. And I'm going to put a note here and say this is imagery, definitely. Okay, he's not just giving it just forthright. He's presenting images for us. And this is a good one right here, this one that I've highlighted. Profile of an animal is being smeared on the wall of a cave. He doesn't have to say the word caveman. He doesn't have to say the beginning of time before fire. He doesn't have to say any of those things. He's giving you an image and you're already there in that setting, right? Yeah. So we go here from the profile of an animal being smeared on the wall of a cave, and then the next sentence takes it where? To you. Billy Collins doesn't even know you, but automatically, okay, you go to your own childhood, and you have not yet learned to crawl. This is the opening, the gambit. Upon moving forward an inch. This is in reference to what? Yep. This is your first night with her and your first night without her. Now, this is a section here that could be open for interpretation here, right? This could be referring to maybe some romantic love. This could be referring maybe to a child. This is the first part where the wheels begin to turn, where the elevator begins its ascent. Ascent is going up before the doors lurch apart. Look at that word there. Something I want to note before we go on is tone. We've been talking about tone. Let me think. Let me look at my tone sheet Miss Garrison gave me the other day. Let's see. It wasn't there. It was here. So would you say, let's start at the very basic. Would you say this is positive or negative? Yes, it's very positive. So let's find a good word here. If you see one, just shout it out. Optimistic. Give me another one. Nostalgic. Give me another one. I don't even know what that means.
Hopeful.
Hopeful. Good. Anybody else? Vibrant. Okay, good. Now, where'd it go? Right here. So I'm going to list any of those. You can just put one, okay? I could say hopeful. I could say vibrant, if I can spell right. It's hard for me to see up there, guys. I could say optimistic, okay? They're all positive. Now, these are literal annotations. We haven't moved very much into the figurative. We're going to do that with a Peer Deck slide anyway. Next stanza. This is the middle. Things have had time to get complicated. Oh, what did we have between here and here? Yeah, we had a shift, okay? So the tone shifts here. And I'm going to wait on that tone word, but I know that it has shifted. I'm going to wait for the tone word until I actually read the paragraph, the stanza more, excuse me. But I can tell it has shifted because up here we're hopeful. Wheels are beginning to turning. The elevator's beginning its ascent. We're waiting. And then now what kind of turned me a little bit here where it says time has gotten complicated. The tone shifts there. Oops. Nope. Nothing is simple anymore. Cities have sprouted up along the rivers, teeming with people at cross purposes. This is in reference to what? Think about that image he's giving you there. Yeah. Beginning of colonization. You could even say, because he used the word cities, industrialization. If I can spell that word. Can't say it right. Nothing's natural anymore. That's a little bit of interpretive there. Cities are sprouting along the rivers. What does it mean that people are at cross purposes? I can't hear you, honey. Somebody said it. If we're at a cross purpose, what does that mean between you and I? Yeah. Yes. Okay. We're just going to say people are going different directions, and that can be literal or figurative. We're at cross purposes. That could also give you the image of a busy city at an intersection, right? Think about like New York City where people are crossing this way and that way. It's busy. And our tone has shifted. We're not so hopeful anymore. Things are complicated. Now notice I'm not marking up every line. I don't have to. Okay, you wouldn't have to either. Just whenever you're doing this independently, I just want you to show me, okay, that you're making some annotations. A million schemes, a million wild looks. Look at these words that he's using. Look at his diction. Schemes, wild looks. That leads us to tone. Disappointment unshoulders his knapsack here. This is figurative language. It's a term I didn't teach you. I heard it. What are we personifying? Yeah, disappointment is an abstract, right? But here he is personifying it and saying disappointment unshoulders his knapsack. What's a knapsack? It's an older word. Backpack, yeah, or a bag of some kind. And pitches his what kind of tent? Ragged. Disappointment. Not having a good day. This all contributes to tone here. Okay, I'm going to start verbalizing through the poem, talking about it verbally, and you can continue annotating, okay? Okay. Now, you annotate as you see fit. So, while we're talking, you don't have to write down everything I say, but while we're talking, if it's contributing to your comprehension of it, you make a comment or note. This is the sticky part where the plot congeals. Look at these words, sticky and congeals. It's contributing to tone. Where the action suddenly reverses or swerves off in an outrageous direction. Here the narrator devotes a long paragraph to why Miriam does not want Edward's child. We have no idea what story he's talking about there. I don't, unless you know the reference. But this is in reference perhaps to the middle of a story, right? Edward and Miriam have a beginning before the child. And this is the part where things get sticky, okay, messy. Someone hides a letter under a pillow. That's the middle. It's after the letter is written and before what? It's read. Yeah, it's found or read. Here, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, here the aria rises to a pitch. I'm assuming that's a musical reference. In the next line, it's a song of betrayal. Ooh, look at this word choice, this verb, salted with revenge. Someone has been wronged. It's the middle of the plot. So here we have song imagery. The aria rises to a pitch, a song of betrayal salted with revenge. It's after someone's been wronged and before they've sought revenge. We're in the middle. And the climbing party is stuck on a ledge halfway up the mountain. Do you guys know what part of the story we call this? If you have rising action, what's in the very middle? The climax. This is the most intense part. This is when everything feels so intensely. This is the bridge, the painful modulation. What's modulation? Yes. Yeah, it's rapid changing. If you were to Google modulation, I'm sure you would probably get a graph of some kind where you see a wavelength going up and down frequently. It's the painful modulation. It's not just up and down, it's painful. It's a lot of change. This is the thick of things. This is also a literary device here we haven't talked about yet. Thick of things. Anybody? It's alliteration, okay? The thick of things. So much is crowded into the middle. The guitars of Spain, the piles of ripe avocados, Russian uniforms, noisy parties, lakeside kisses, arguments heard through a wall. Too much to name, too much to think about. I would love to hear your opinion on this. These are all very random things smushed together in this part of the stanza. Why did he do that? Okay.
It's kind of like middle, because a lot of things go on in the time, and it's like sometimes we don't have to do with each other, but things happen. It's like some of them have like better conversations, like more exciting than others. Because the middle of your life is always the worst.
Yeah. You're all saying the same thing. Here he's giving examples of painful modulation, things that are different, that are varied. It's this, and then it's this, and it's this, and it's so much, and it's building, it's building, it's building. It's the middle. It's the most intense part. And you're meant to read that swiftly, okay? That's getting into syntax there. I don't think we've talked about syntax yet. So much is crowded into the middle, and he gives us a dash, and then we're off like horses. The guitars of Spain, piles of ripe avocados, Russian uniforms, noisy parties, lakeside kisses, arguments heard to the wall, and then another dash, right? So in between those two dashes, you're meant to read it swiftly. Too much to name, too much to think about. Oh, it's all so much in the middle. I think life is a bit like that, right? Yeah. I feel that with my daughter some. She's growing so much, right? Things are just passing so quickly. It's a lot. One comment I do want you to make down here, okay? I want you to identify tone in that second stanza now. Last stanza. You can probably guess what the end is, right, in reference to. This is the end. The car running out of road, the river losing its name in an ocean, the long nose of the photographed horse touching the white electronic line. Think about that line right there. I remember when I taught this last year, my classes were really kind of perplexed by that line, and we had a long discussion as to what that probably meant. I'm always going to play devil's advocate. I'm not going to confirm or deny for you. What do you think?
Old photographs, didn't they used to have like a white border around them?
Maybe like a Polaroid?
Like something weird about how it says long nose. It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking it too far, but whenever I think of long nose, I always think like Pinocchio and how he lies.
Okay.
And then maybe like, I don't know, in the end you're getting punished for like all the bad things that you've done.
Okay.
That's the end. I don't know. I like don't understand it at all. You don't either.
The long nose of the photographed horse. So what do we literally know? We literally know we're looking at a picture of a horse, right? Because it's photographed. Touching the white electronic line.
What is it for right now? It's like the borders are all white.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, huh? Go ahead.
Kind of really stuff, but from what I've heard, sometimes they have like the electrocute horses, but almost with like an electric whip. So maybe it's kind of something like symbolize the horse being killed or something.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I was thinking like death, like the horse. That sounds bad.
Something else that I've had before in the past. Now I can see the Polaroid. I can see the evidence for the others too. Somebody in the past said maybe the white electric line is like the finish line of a race.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, it's a photo finish. Yeah, that's
Maybe.
That's cool.
Maybe so.
But they describe it as like a long nose. Yeah, but that reminds me of like long face.
You know what? Have you like seen like run face like sticks out?
Interesting.
Yeah, because they're trying to get. I don't know.
Look at the line before it. I kind of skirted over this right here. Look at this line. The river losing its name in an ocean.
Just like combining something bigger.
Yeah. It's the river's end, right? You guys know that all rivers lead to the ocean, and then it's not the Mississippi anymore. Then it becomes the Gulf of Mexico. Thank you. I panicked. Okay, then it becomes the Gulf of Mexico, right? I almost said something stupid. I almost said like Pacific Ocean, but the Mississippi definitely does not touch that. I guess in a way it eventually will, but let's just move on from that. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this word. You probably saw that as I was reading it. Anywho, let's see if it'll read it to us. Colophon, yeah. So I did say it right.
What's that one word you used to pronounce wrong?
Cordial. Yep. All right, let's get back to this. This is the colophon, the last elephant in the parade, the empty wheelchair, and pigeons floating down in the evening. So he's following the same structure as up here in the beginning, right? See where he was listing all those things in the first stanza? Yeah, we're doing it again right here. Okay, we're listing all these things. The empty wheelchair, this one's kind of sad. Yeah, that one's kind of sad.
Is it like parallelism? Is that
Yes, thank you. Billy Collins is using something called parallelism, parallel structure, where he's matching his structure in each stanza with the one before, but what is shifting every time? The tone and the diction, yeah. And pigeons floating down in the evening. Here the stage is littered with bodies. Well, if you've ever seen a Shakespeare play, if it's a tragedy, pretty much everyone's dead. Yeah. The narrator leads the characters to their cells, and the climbers are in their graves. Now, we talked about climbers up here too, didn't we? They were looking at a map in the beginning, and then here they're doing what? No, in the middle. Stuck on a ledge, and then what happened to those climbers? Yeah, sadly they died.
I was thinking of like the movie Everett.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, the next two lines, he does something that we call breaking the fourth wall. It's like where in The Office, Jim looks at the camera and talks to it, right? He's talking to you. It is me hitting the period and you closing the book. He's talking to who? The reader. He's wanting to connect to you. He's wanting you to connect to this. Beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't matter who's reading this. You'll have some kind of connection to it. We all live a life. Anybody know what happened to Sylvia Plath? Yep. Sylvia Plath ended her own life where? Can you see? In the kitchen. And St. Clement died with an anchor around his neck. So these are called, illusions. It's been a hot minute since I've been in the classroom. Yes, Ernie.
I don't know if this is important or not, but saying it's me hitting the period is the only time that he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Uses first person.
Yes, that is important. Everything is important that you notice. Okay? Notice and note. When you notice something, make a note of it. It's why I quit annotating, because I want you to really be doing that yourself, where you're noticing things and making your own notes. And don't mark something if it means nothing to you, okay? Sometimes students will turn in annotations that are just filled to the brim, and I'm like, did you do this for me or for you? Do it for you. This is the final bit, thinning away to nothing. This is the end. Now, this is very final here, okay? According to Aristotle, go ahead.
Like, when it says what we have all been waiting for, it's like, I feel like everyone's imagined like what it's going to be like to die in like the end and how they're going to die, and just like kind of saddening that part, because then it's like finally over.
How often do you think about, this is just an open-ended question, okay? We're all going to be different, but how often do you think about the future? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we frequently think about the future. We think about where we've been. This is what Adele was saying. We think about the past, where we've been, and we think about where we're going. Often we don't really think about the middle very much, right? Where we're at now. And then in reference, okay, to what was just said, a lot of us think about the end. We think about what's the end of my life going to look like? What's it going to be like to die? Those kinds of things. I know that's morbid, but that's a part of being a human being, okay? Death is part of being a human being. Go ahead, Ernie.
Death is the one thing we cannot comprehend. It's literally impossible to comprehend.
Oh, my heart is bursting. There are 3 themes in literature, okay, that we still have no true concept of, and that's why people write about them over and over and over. And Ernie just said 1, death, love, and birth, right? New life. It's cyclical. That's almost a beginning, middle, and end right there. Mm-hmm. Those are 3 things that are most commonly referenced in literature because humans are still, after thousands of years, still thinking about them, and they can't wrap their minds around the full concept of what they mean. For something just to end, right? To be over with. For something that existed 5 minutes ago to not exist. That's such a rough thing for us to think about. It's hard. What we have all been waiting for, what everything comes down to, the destination we cannot help imagining, a streak of light in the sky. What is this image supposed to do for you? What?
I think it's heaven.
Okay. Like that could maybe be angels, right? If that's the avenue you're going down. Could it be, Shakespeare says in Macbeth, I have it up here, he says, life's but a walking shadow, out, brief candle. What does he mean here, Collins? A streak of light in the sky. It's there and then it's what? It's gone. A hat on a peg. That gives you the image of coming in and putting your hat right on the hat stand. And outside the cabin, falling leaves. We talked about seasons last week. Go ahead.
I kind of thought when Thanos says,
Text to text connection here.
I finally watched the sun rise on a grateful universe, or sunset on a grateful universe, or whatever. I think of this as like somebody did their job and they finally put their hat on the peg.
Good.
And sit on their reclining chair in their cabin.
So he's evoking an image for you, right? And making those connections. Go ahead.
I was thinking it was like whenever someone like gives up or it's like, nah, I'm done with this, they're like, yeah, I'm throwing my hat.
Oh, throwing their hat down?
Yeah.
Look at those last few words. Cabin, falling leaves. So this would signify the end, right? In the seasons, the leaves falling from the trees, and impending death. Okay? So we have annotated, mostly literal. There's some figurative thrown in there. Okay, you could have made some figurative annotations. I'm going to lead you through a pair deck. Now, again, I'm not always going to be this hands-on, but because it's our first one, I'm trying to get a feel for how much you guys know, which seems to be a lot. We're not ready yet. Okay, we got a couple more things to do. Okay. This is my first time to use a pair deck, so bear with me here. In my first class, my guinea pigs. Where's it at? Aristotle, Billy Collins. So we're going to start a live session, and I know you get a code. Okay, so those of you that are on it, where did you go? You went where? Oh, and it's up there too. Good. Thank you so much.
If you click on the link in Google Browser, there'll be like an option at the top, like where you would log in, and it says like join session, and you click on it, and you can just go to code.
Thank y'all so much.
How are you feeling?
I did just depress you at the end.
Yeah, that was it's kind of boring.
Real dining.
Well, yes. If no one has told you that, I'm sorry to break that news to you.
I'm so scared to
It's like
die.
everyone thinks of it, but you never hear it before.
I'm not scared it's gonna hurt. Yeah, I know. Like I get
Like what if you get mad or like you get slapped?
And I'm not gonna die for it.
All right, I'm waiting on about 4 more people. Aristotle, Billy Collins. Uh-oh. How do I? Ugh. Okay, I'm going to say that again because I didn't get that on my screencast file. Step 1, we're going to read and annotate, which we just did. Step 2, we're going to pre-write for our own. And step 3, you're going to write your own. Having deja vu? Okay, step 1, read and discuss. So on your screen, you should have a response box. And it says, what imagery does Collins use to show the beginning, middle, and end? So go ahead and respond now. You can just think, oh, it automatically does. Yeah, you don't have to hit anybody. You can either look at your poem if you like, or you can recall from memory. And you can just think of a couple things. How does he provide you an image of a beginning? How does he provide you an image of the middle and the end? This is asking for the literal text. Yeah, you can copy and paste. That's fine. You don't have to copy and paste the whole stanza. Just a few things. This is just to get you thinking. So if you didn't give me literal, if you just said he does this, this, and this, that's fine too. No panic. I wonder if it'll show your names if I show responses. It doesn't?
It just shows like what you type.
Hey, there we go. So I'll just kind of scroll through these if you're kind of looking for ideas. Yes, make sure you scan the QR code for me. Okay, I'm going to turn it in just a few seconds. This is just to get you thinking. Okay, you don't have to do a paragraph or anything. Okay, next. Theme. I purposely did not talk about this. Keep it to yourself, don't share yet. What do you think the overall message is, the theme? Now, I haven't really dove into theme with you yet, but a theme is not one word. Okay? It is not love. It is not hope. Those are topics. A theme is something you learn, the overall message from the work. Sadness. Some good responses in here. This one's good. The fulfillment of life. Describes the human experience and the trouble. Ends the poem with the reality of death. There's many things you could pull from this. C'est la vie. And you could say, even if you're not, someone that pulls these deep thoughts out of poetry, you could just say, the theme of this is that everything has a start and a middle and an end, right? Now, those of you that are deep thinkers, you're not wrong, okay? But you don't have to be, incredibly deep to get some meaning out of this. I'm really trying to encourage those of you who don't feel comfortable with poetry. Okay, next slide. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. There it is. Sorry. Haha. Think about those poetic elements you noticed. A hint for you is that I would try to think of at least 3. We had a whole list in our journal. And there were a few others that we didn't write in our journal that I talked about. I'm actually going to hide this because I want you to think about it. I think some of you are just going to. Okay, we're going to go on. Just give me a sentence. You don't have to get deep. Of the images he presents, which ones do you relate to or have you personally experienced? I won't post these on the board since some of them may be personal. Welcome back. Some of you are going to make me cry.
I won't put anything too deep.
Do what?
I won't put anything too deep, he said.
I'm sorry, I still didn't hear
You won't be too deep.
Oh, that's fine. You don't have to be deep. You just be you, boo-boo, okay? That's it. These masks make it hard for me to hear. It could also just be my ears, but I'll blame it on the masks. Okay, we're gonna move on.
It's the middle of life.
That's up to you to decide. Is this the middle? Is this your beginning?
No, because it's like 40, middle of life.
I can't answer that. Okay. I know a lot of you are just pouring your hearts out. We got to go on. Step 2. Listen, we only have 10 minutes and I need to get through this. Think about constructing a poem in your own words, exploring the images that represent phases of your own life, your beginning, middle, and end. Consider each phase, particularly the future, in abstract terms. Okay, that's how Collins does it. He presents you with images that represent the beginning, middle, and end. You can think of it in abstract terms too, or as though it reflects the story you envision for yourself. So real quick, we're going to go through this part a little quickly. I just want you to jot down some bullet points of images that represent your beginning. And try to get a little artistic with this. So for me, an image would be, and this is just a little bit about me, an image would be like a trailer park, right? Because that's what I was in when I was a little girl. It could be the playground. It could be a broken hairbrush. I mean, it can be anything. Just images that when you think about your beginning come to mind. So be real with yourself. What's an image that comes to mind for the beginning of this school year? Masks. Computers. Social distancing signs. Okay? So think about images that represent your beginning. No. This is personal.
Wait, so is this just like the beginning of like our lives, or just like the beginning of this like year?
I'll let you decide. Okay? Most of you will probably do your life. But if you want to do a predictive poem and do for your school year, you can. Okay? I'm not going to restrict you. Okay, next slide. When you picture your future, now we're going to the other end of the spectrum. I want you to think of images that come to mind. Give you a few more seconds. I'm going to read you this example, okay? So if this is yours, I won't say your name, but this is a good example. This person said performances, acoustic sets, tattoos, college parties, house full of friends, traveling in Europe. This person said doctor, med school, happiness, new friends. This person said success. Okay, get a little deeper. Okay, if that's yours and you said success, give me an image of what success looks like. Okay, is that a manicured lawn? Is that a white picket fence? Is that a Mustang GT? I don't know. Cars are cool. I don't know. You want to get deeper, okay? Someone said chasing my dreams. Tell me specifically what that looks like, an image. Something physical, tangible. If you want to be a politician, does that look like knocking on doors? Does that look like shaking hands? Things like that. Okay, guys, listen. I'm gonna move. We have 3 slides left, but we're just gonna do one of those, okay, that I want to hit. I want you to think, what tone do you see your overall story having? So think of a tone word that you want to set for your own poem.
For like all of it, not just like the end.
You can give several. If you think that your beginning, middle, and end will have shifts, you can start to think about what tones you want to evoke for each of those shifts. You're just pre-writing right now. I've got whimsical, growing, adventurous, lighthearted, innocent, nostalgic, constricting, and then freeing. Serious. Okay. Will it let you view this after I end the session? Like, can you view your responses and stuff? No? Okay, for the sake of time, guys, I'm going to end it. Okay, don't pack up yet. One more thing, please. Just stay with me, and then I'll let you go. Okay, I'm going to talk to you for just a second. Okay. Sorry, I'm closing out Pear Deck. Okay, so what I want you to do, listen, I do not like to assign homework, but because of map testing, we ran into a lack of time, okay? So this document right here, it'll be under your work. It says writing your own beginning, middle, and end. And the directions say, following Collins's structure, write your own version of the poem. It does not have to rhyme. It does not have to follow line by line. However, you should include at least 3 of the poetic devices that Collins uses. And I want you to highlight in your version where you use those devices, okay? So you'll see the original to the left and yours to the right. And I've already separated it by stanzas for you, okay? No, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to follow it stanza by stanza. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, can we like pull some ideas from that?
I'd like you, are you talking about pulling ideas from his?
Yes.
You can model yours after it, but I don't want you to copy and paste. Aristotle. Okay, this will be due on, I see you next Wednesday, because Monday is Labor Day. So next Wednesday. Okay, we have a whole week. So sorry to give you homework.
Oh, don't worry. I get like 11 pages from my AP World.
Well, that even makes me more so not want to give you homework.
Yeah, if it's not bad, then I just
Okay. Well, good.
I'm so narcissistic.